Right. Well, my name's Ian Corbett. I was the first state men's netball coach and the first All-Australian men's netball coach. I was also part of the group that established men's netball here in South Australia and Australia. So basically that's where my involvement began. Yeah. Well, I'd studied phys ed at uni, so you sort of do all sorts of sports. And then I started playing mixed netball, but it wasn't netball, it was down at Marston. You know, they had, I can't remember what that was called, but it had bands in the court and stuff. And I played in that with some of the state girls at the time, Barney Williams, Mignon Girk, Lynn Fulson. That's where I first got involved, apart from doing PE. Then my sister-in-law was the president of Salisbury West Netball Club, which was part of South Australian Districts Netball Association. And with Kay Portolesi, they started a men's competition, and my sister-in-law the club wanted to put in a team, so she contacted me because she knew my PE background. And then I put together a team of kids that I taught, and that included the likes of Glenn Cook, Warren Sando, Mark Snellgrove, all who went on to become All-Australian players. So it's a pretty good start. We won our fair share of state championships, and we were also national club championships for 3 years in a row. Yeah. So that's how it started. And then through that I got on to the group that included Kay and Wayne and Jenny Wade in establishing the Men's Association here and the All-Australian Men's Association. The last time South Australia won the Men's Open was '93, and they got me back because I was still being a boss boy at schools. We had a cracker team that year and won it, but that was a cracker team. Darren Sewell, who's still part of he was our wing attack. Steve Harvey, who you'll meet later, was the goal attack. That was a really good team. Yeah. I coached some pretty amazing players, and I got to see some pretty amazing players. So Glenn Cook, obviously, but there was a wing attack in the first touring team to New Zealand was a Victorian boy called Terry Corrie, an Irish boy, and he played goal attack for Victoria, but wasn't as accurate as you would have liked someone to be at international level, but his movement was just uncanny. So I swung him in at wing attack and did a bit of intense work with him before we went away, and he just blossomed. He was absolutely silky smooth. He could change direction on a sixpence. His ability to catch the ball and float to the circle from the transverse line almost was just amazing, and his perception of where to put the ball to the feed to the goalie was just, he could thread the eye of a needle. He was beautiful to watch, and you can't really say that about boys playing netball, but he was a beautiful player. And our first international tour was to New Zealand, obviously, and we were sponsored by Qantas and Adidas, so we had these amazing padded line tracksuits that were just fabulous. And then in New Zealand we toured in a huge bus that had these big, I'll never forget this, these big lambswool seats. So it was a big, like 40 passenger bus with 12 people in it. So you could spread out, sleep, all that sort of stuff. That was the series where Glenn did the number on the goalkeeper. Lionel Foster was the team manager. Like we had the first national championships were held in Geelong, and then that was in 1985, and then South Australia hosted the championships in the following year in '86, and Kay Porto was very good at drumming up sponsorship and media and stuff like that, and the media were quite negative, A, because it was a traditional women's sport, and B, some of the New South Wales players were obviously gay. So there was all that backlash about that as well. So that was in the initial days. You used to get asked questions like, what's it like to wear a skirt, and all that sort of silly stuff, ignorant stuff. But everyone soldiered on, and it grew. The competition here in Adelaide grew to the point where there were about 4 senior divisions. They'd brought in youth, so that was really growing quite well as well. So yeah, it was, in its early days, it was developing quite dramatically, which was good. Well, what's interesting, because of my connections with the women, like I was very close friends with Barney Williams, who in those days was coaching Oakdale, and got to know really well Monica Pucalis and Bronwyn Roberts. They started to ask us club teams and the Statebrook men's team to train against their teams. So that involvement grew quite dramatically as well, and that also meant that there was a bit more acceptance of the sport as it grew. Interestingly, we were never allowed to put the scores up because the girls didn't want to be beaten. Yeah. I really loved watching Caleb Barnden. I thought he was a bit hard done by not to make the Australian squad. He's pretty silky too, but his movement from defence into attack is pretty amazing. So I think he's a boy of the future. I can't see anything that's in the negative field that would prevent both the men and the women advancing their sport to do it together. I mean, there's some knowledge and experience there that would serve the men well, and there's development and growth opportunities. Just opens up all these new doors for you. And like I think, as I've said before, through my involvement as a coach and a player, I've had a fair bit to do and made really good friendships with a lot of the women in those days, and you know what they have to offer is pretty amazing. So I just think it's the way to go, really, to be quite honest. My life's been enriched because of netball. I came through as an athlete myself. I was a state hockey player, underage until I got sent to the country to teach. But yeah, netball certainly has afforded me some amazing opportunities, some wonderful experiences, and some really great lifelong friendships. So your life couldn't be better because of it. I think it's heartwarming, well, it warms my old heart to see what you boys are doing and the way the sport's growing and stuff. I need to get off my bum and come down and have a look a bit more.